Box office top 10 this week. At number Red Delicious, Scarlet Granny Smith, Fountain of Youth. Simon and Mark. Laura Welsh says, we were looking for something to watch on Saturday night after a long day. We didn't fancy 3 hours of Mission Impossible, so we flopped on the sofa with Fountain of Youth. And you know what? We really enjoyed it. Yes, it's a mishmash of Indiana Jones, Romancing the Stone, The Da Vinci Code, and it's definitely 20 minutes too long, but it easily passed the 6-laugh test, was pretty exciting, and the chase and action sequences were great. They'd obviously thrown money at it, and it shows. I mean, who doesn't love art history, secret codes, a genius kid, car chases, sweeping global shots, and a grand finale at the pyramids? It just ticks all the boxes for a chewing gum for the eyes, Saturday night on the sofa with a beer and a bar of fruit and nut. Also, says Laura, it would be a great film to watch with teenage children. It's a 12A for a family movie night. And other than Marvel, it's becoming harder and harder to find films that fit that brief. So I'd really recommend people who like that kind of thing to give it a try, despite the reviews. I just can't get out of my head the thought that John Krasinski looks exactly like Arthur Christmas, tinkety tonk and all that. And it's true, you're right, Laura. A number of people do say, what it comes up periodically. What films can I watch with, elder kids that's not going to be embarrassing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it sounds as though Fountain of Youth is definitely one of those films.
Well, there was a rhetorical question, which was, and who doesn't like this list of things? Answer, me. I mean, I thought it was rubbish. I thought it was boring. I mean, I'm pleased that you enjoyed it, and you're absolutely right about there being fewer and fewer films that it's possible to have that experience with. I think this just felt like, why am I not watching Indiana Jones? Why am I not watching Romancing the Stone? Oh blimey, we're doing the Da Vinci Code. Look at this painting. It's all pointing to a stellar constellation thing. I mean, it cost $100 million, and it's straight to streaming, and I don't know that. As I said, Dexter Fletcher was originally going to do it. I don't know that he would have made a much better job than Guy Ritchie, because I think the script is all over the shop. But I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and I like the idea of a fabulous Saturday night being a bar of fruit and nut and a can of Tennant's or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's not a perfect Saturday night. Anyway, at number WR26BY, Hallow Road, Mark and Simon. This is from Claire. Long-time listener, occasional emailer. I was at the BFI last week for Mark's onstage interview with Babak Anvari about his new film, Hallow Road. Yep. The rave reviews and Mark's Instagram DM slide, check you out, story really intrigued me. So this morning I made a trip to my local multiplex to catch it. On the way, I somehow managed to injure my leg.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Dramatic story, but it hurt a lot, and I intend to sue Mark. I've just added that bit in. But I figured it was better off sinking into the soft seats of the cinema than trying to negotiate my way home. So I hobbled in, got a coffee, and settled down. Here's my review. Hallow Road is so gripping, so absorbing that I didn't think about my throbbing calf once. Not once. I was totally captured from start to finish. The performances and atmosphere created within just the car, it was a masterclass. I left the cinema hobbling, went straight to get some prescription strength painkillers, and promptly cancelled the rest of my weekend plans to nurse my leg. But was it worth it? Absolutely. What a film. I can't stop thinking about the ending. Thanks as ever to Mark for championing films like this, even if it occasionally leads to minor personal injury, for which I intend to sue Mark for every cent that he's worth. I've just added that bit in myself.
Yeah. Okay. I'm really glad. And but that is a perfect thing. The film was so good, I didn't think about the pain in my leg. That's the demonstration that a film is really working.
Again, a film that cast its spell, as Karate Kid did for you and your bad mood. Number 10 is Narivetta.
Okay, so Narivetta, unfortunately, was not press screened. So, but what I can tell you about it, if I just scroll up on my script, which has now decided not to do scrolling. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. Indian Malayan language action drama film based on the 2003 Mutanga incident. If anyone's seen it, let us know. As I said, it wasn't press screened.
Oh, right. So it's not Narivetta, Are You Better, Are You Well by Fame and Price. It's not that one. It's not that.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I mean, maybe it is. I await correspondence.
It would be unlikely. Number 9, Bluey at the Cinema, Let's Play Chef Collection.
Which is a collection of television episodes of blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
But it's, exactly. So, but we welcome it, and if it's bringing people into the cinema, then good for it.
Yes.
Number 8 is Ocean with David Attenborough.
So this is third week in the charts, still in the top 10. So it's done very, very well for a documentary. The spectacular photography that you would expect. But the most important thing is that David Attenborough is telling this story about this is a terrible thing that is happening, but there is a great opportunity to be grasped if we act now. and this is what he does. He said, he doesn't. He does, he wants you to be alarmed, but he also wants you to be invigorated with the possibility that we can turn this around.
He's sort of Ridley Scott, isn't he? He's speeding up. He feels as though he has, he's lived a grand old life and he wants to get on with telling more stories and reaching more people.
Well, basically, the reason he isn't Ridley Scott is that David Attenborough seems to become more avuncular and more generous of spirit as he gets
yes,
older.
There is that.
And I don't think you could say that about Sir Ridley Diddley.
No, I was just thinking about sort of rate of output, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Number 7 is a Minecraft movie.
Well, it's still there. It's all right. It's Jack Black. It's a Jack Black film that happens to take place in the Minecraft universe, and I think that the correspondence we had from people who were dealing with the cinema behavior was troubling, but it's done very well.
Yes, and cinemas will be grateful for it. Sinners at number 6.
Which I really enjoyed, and great to see something which is a completely new property do this well. As I keep saying every week, it's to do with the fact that the music tells the story, so the storytelling is done in a way which isn't just characters explaining the plot to each other, and I really like it, and I think it's very good that it's done as well as it has.
Number 5, Thunderbolts and Lightning, very, very frightening me, Galileo.
Yes, Thunderbolts asterisk because it's now New Avengers. As I said last week, I didn't get much out of this, but we have had some very interesting correspondence from people who did, and specifically people who have experienced loneliness and isolation, who saw in the film a reflection of their own turmoil. And I think that just shows you that in the end, the way in which cinema speaks to people is very, very individual, and I'm just delighted that anyone has taken that away from it.
And number 4 is the Phoenician scheme.
This is what I was just saying earlier on about the question is, did the Phoenician scheme hit me the wrong way because Ben Bailey Smith had snubbed me before the screening, although he insisted it was completely accidental and he didn't know I was there. I think that in the end, Wes Anderson films are all on a knife edge and they can go one way or the other. For me, this went the other way. When I like Wes Anderson, Grand Budapest, which I really, really like, and Isle of Dogs, which I really like. When I like his stuff, I really like it, and when I don't like it, it grates. Mia Threppleton is very, very good. Benicio del Toro he's Benicio del Toro. But it's how much more Wes Anderson could it be? None more Wes Anderson. And it was too much Wes Anderson for me.
An email from Samuel Barber, but presumably not the dead American composer. Dear Zaza and Corda, I'm always a bit surprised when a new Wes Anderson film comes out and received coldly because I've never really got the criticisms of his work. I thought Asteroid City was one of his best, and the Phoenician scheme isn't too far behind. While I can see how the style can be grating, personally, I just think it's a beautiful thing that someone with such a distinct artistic image can still be making movies in this era of homogenized corporate nonsense. I'd also like to stick up for Fantastic Mr. Fox a little. As someone who first saw it as a kid, I thought and still think it's brilliant. Thanks for your excellent show, and hello to Jason Isaacs, who will be with us very shortly. But that's the Phoenician scheme at number 4. Number 3 is Final Destination: Bloodlines.
And as many critics, I think, have now said, we were all surprised at how good it was. It is one of the best of the Final Destination films. It was surprisingly, in the same way. Well, Karate Kid, I kind of thought actually might be good, but Final Destination: Bloodlines was much better than I expected it to be, and that was a real pleasant surprise.
Number 2 is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. So, shall I do some emails here?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So this is from Liz H. in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Dear Over and Kill, fun feature. When I posted this on Letterboxd, a green electronic message appeared saying my review would self-destruct in 5 seconds. I loved it. Anyway, I have loved Mission Impossible, even back to the TV days, but I think this may be its final reckoning. This installment begins with a montage reminding us how awesome and self-sacrificing Ethan Hunt is, which is the film's first uncool move. This kind of over-exposition is a mind-numbing hallmark of the entire film. In fact, the movie has so much explanation of inscrutable gadgetry saving the day, if only timed correctly, I gave up on the plot after 20 minutes. What was crystal clear, though, one thing one might even say drummed into my head was that the stakes were beyond enormous. Shots of nuclear arsenals, the unaging, beautiful face of President Angela Bassett, would that it were, under extreme world-enduring stress. The entity, which is ChatGPT gone rogue, is up for grabs among the world's villains. Top of the list, played by S.I. Morales, who tips off his villainy with "Woo-ha-ha-ha" during an airborne stunt-riddled flight sequence. And about those stunt sequences, is this an Emperor has no clothes situation? Will no one remind Tom and director Chris McQuarrie that for stunts to be engaging, they must be economically integrated into emotionally involving storylines? Mission Impossible's films have already lowered the bar on this, and it's worked out great with the minimums, but the bar can't be zero. The film is completely consumed by very long action sequences that throttle up to 12 and just stay there. Tension requires lulls and inclines. That's a summarized version. Matt in Wingrave. Thank you, Mark, for your review of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, in which you asked, why did we have to have all that exposition? I'm writing to offer one possible purpose. It was added for Mission Impossible virgins like me. There is something about film franchises that can actually put off people who haven't seen every film since the beginning. Some of us, for example, are even terrified to start watching Star Wars so late in the day because we fear we lack sufficient backstory to understand all the in-jokes, the cultural context, or even, and I know enough to know I'm opening a can of worms here, which order to see them in. So I'm pretty sure that I thoroughly enjoyed The Final Reckoning last night, precisely because that extended opening sequence brought me up to speed, not just with Dead Reckoning, but also with the entire Mission Impossible universe, whatever it's called. It gave me context, explained some rivalries, and even added to the emotional heft with the reappearance of certain characters. And now that Chris McQuarrie has opened a portal for me too to hold my breath at the audacious stunts, not only do I feel part of the gang, but I also feel motivated to watch the earlier films. So down with world-dominating baddies and up with directors wise and generous enough to make a franchise film for fanatics and newbies alike.
Okay, I mean, what I would say is the problem with that opening, I mean, obviously in your particular case, you found it helpful because it gave you a lot of information. The problem with it is it's badly done. It is very, very badly paced, and it doesn't work for people who have seen the other films. You could have done all of that in a much, much more abridged form, and you don't need the messianic nonsense, which is hooey and gets in the way of the fact that we're going to have a fabulous scene in a submarine and a fabulous scene in a biplane. I have spoken now. I was wrong when I said something. I said no one is going to come out of this film saying, well, the first hour was boring. And I was wrong, because it turns out loads of people, although they thought the second hour was great and the third hour was really great, did come out and say, but the first hour was boring. And as Spen said last week, one of the strategic issues is that the point at which you need a we is exactly the point that it gets interesting.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, there's a PS here from Lucy. Which order should I start to watch Star Wars? The answer is in Questions Schmestions Take 2, where Mark will explain everything.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Cool. Did you know that's what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay. So, and number one is, it's quite interesting that Mission Impossible is already off the top spot, because number one is Lilo and Stitch here and in America.
But then bear in mind that Lilo and Stitch is family viewing, whereas Mission Impossible, I mean, I suppose everyone can go and see it, but you're not going to take very young viewers to see it. And Lilo and Stitch is a very popular IP. It remains to be seen how well it does. But as I said when I was reviewing it last week, this is the issue with the Disney reboots, is that they have got such strong IP family audience recognition that they'll keep doing it because the numbers make sense. It doesn't matter that the films aren't very good. What matters is that they are hugely profitable. And I think it is a shame that Disney have locked themselves into this. But I understand why, because it's just, okay, we will just literally go through the back catalogue and redo everything in inverted commas live action. In the case of this, it's longer but lesser. It doesn't have the teeth of the original. It has a sentimental edge, which is kind of quite cute, and I rather enjoyed it whilst I was watching it. But it certainly doesn't add anything to the animation, and it does detract somewhat.
Ian in Nethybridge in the Highlands.
Yes.
Today we took the whole family to see the new version of Lilo and Stitch from Disney. I'm a massive fan of the original film, loving it for all the reasons that Mark found it peculiar.
Okay.
Lost, genetically engineered super weapons that in no way resemble dogs, watercolor
Yes.
backgrounds, alien-looking aliens, and subtle word gags combined with a Bond-style action set piece opening and soundtrack of Elvis bangers to make what I've long felt was the secret best Disney movie. While the rest of the family felt positive about this remake, I didn't. I left feeling like I'd seen an okay performance of a Shakespeare play I really love. They rushed the opening escape, didn't really dwell on Lilo's relationship with the other girls in her town, somehow filled out the cast of characters while simultaneously doing nothing with them. It's all perfectly fine. Most of the best lines and gags are still present, and I teared up in the bits I was supposed to tear up in. Mm-hmm. This movie does not make the case that revisiting these films is anything other than a ploy to sell more merchandise to our children. Let's hope that How to Train Your Dragon has more of a reason for being. However, I fear we will have this same conversation in a few weeks' time.
Well, there we are. I mean, that is it in a nutshell. I thought that analogy about I had been to see a Shakespeare play done not very well, because the first incarnation of Lilo and Stitch, the animated feature of Lilo and Stitch, is very odd, and the oddity is the thing that makes it charming. And this doesn't have any of that, but it has once again given Disney yet more reason to carry on doing this.